World in Harness. Highlights of this week's harness racing action across North America. Brought to you by NORMA, the North American Harness Racing Marketing Association. And now your host for the World in Harness, Stan Bergstein.
Welcome to the World in Harness, and a special welcome to Home Team Sports and its 650,000 homes in Washington, Baltimore, and the surrounding area. It was a bittersweet week in harness racing. An American trotter won in Europe and was sold for $1 million. Jate Lobel, hailed as the now and future champion of the sport in pacing, qualified again and is ready to start his season, long awaited, at the Meadowlands in New Jersey. An outstanding man and a top horse were lost to the sport, and good horses were in action across North America. We will have all of those details for you coming up here on the World in Harness.
You won't find a better bargain in today's market than True Tone Lobel. Only Nihilator has been rated faster going into his 3-year-old season. Before injury cut short his brilliant career, he won this Pennsylvania Sire Stake and took a mark of 154 at the Meadowlands. His foals will be eligible to the rich New Jersey Sire Stakes and the Breeders' Crown. True Tone Lobel stands for just $2,000 at Madison Ridge Farm in New Jersey.
The Royal Stallion Stake, harness racing's most comprehensive program for small breeders. Our multi-million-dollar program benefits horsemen from the stimulating of interest in stallions to increasing value of brood mares and foals, to the marketing of yearlings in sales rings, to stake racing for horses ages 2 through 5. Invest your money and your horses into the Royal Stallion Stake. For more information, contact Brian Maloney or Gordon Dickerson at 717-343-5902.
You will remember last fall in harness racing, the brilliant trotting mare Grade Singing was sweeping everything before her, including this victory against Pacers at Yonkers Raceway in New York on December 27th, when she beat a good field of top-notch Pacers there, coming from behind for Hervé Fillon. Well, Grade Singing is in Europe now, and on Sunday last, she was racing in the major race in Finland at Helsinki at the Vermo track in the Vermo Cup. She won it in 2 heats, 1:57 and 1/5 for the mile, and then back in a world record for trotting mares on a 5/8 mile track of 1:56 and 1/5 for Ulf Thoresen, the great Norwegian trainer-driver, who, of course, won last year's Hambletonian here with the Nuclear Cosmos in the United States. After the race, Grade Singing was sold to Swedish interests for $1 million, subject only to a veterinarian examination. At the Meadowlands in New Jersey, Jate Lobel, who qualified a week earlier in 1:55 and 3/5 seconds at Pompano, qualified in the identical time at the Meadowlands and is ready for his season's debut. On a sad note, at Brandywine Raceway in Delaware and throughout harness racing, the entire sport mourned the loss of one of its most colorful gentlemen of the turf. Dave Herman, dead at 80, and one of the great publicity men that harness racing or any racing has ever known. And in New York, a top equine personality, the trotter Bobo, who had won over $900,000, died at Yonkers Raceway. In racing action, out at Maywood Park in Chicago, they had a pacing feature with Broadway Express and a good crew in action, but the winner was not Broadway Express. He misses New York. Here is how the action turned out at Maywood.
On the outside, it's He'll Be Prompt. Fill it on the inside, High Volt Osborne. Bronze Hill is under the whip. Here comes He'll Be Prompt with a rush. He'll Be Prompt on the outside. Those two at the wire. And that is
He'll Be Prompt, winning it for driver Dale Heitman and for the Cal Neva Stables of California, beating Bronze Hill and High Volt Osborne in 1:56 and 2/5 seconds. There was also a fast mile down at Brandywine in Wilmington, Delaware, where Lee Vance N came in from Freehold and was the favorite. but he did not win. And here's the upset.
Outside into the final eighth, and Lee Vance is the 1-2 catch. Ironstone Allo looks for racing room. Skipper's Vestige now charging up on the outside, and Skipper's Vestige goes by to take over, and he goes on to victory.
Steve Farrell guides Skipper's Vestige to victory in 1 minute 56 and 3/5 seconds over Lee Vance and Regret Me Not, who came in from California. Mohawk in Ontario had a big race over the weekend, $63,800 purse for 3-year-old pacing fillies. Lucien Fontaine, who guided Forrest Skipper for Forrest Bartlett, the owner, last year, they two of them took some of that Forrest Skipper Horse of the Year money and bought a filly 2 weeks ago called Which Way. She had won 7 in a row, and here's what she did at Mohawk in the Princess Final.
6 Lucky BBJ, Which Way on the outside, Shadow Moss on the inside, and here comes Big Sika. Which Way, Big Sika trying to close at her. Which Way, Big Sika's coming on. Which Way, Big Sika, Which Way? Which Way in front?
Lucien Fontaine getting some of the purchase money back quickly with Which Way beating Big Sika and Shadow Moss in 1 minute 58 and 1. Which Way, a storm-damaged filly, has now won 7 of 11 this year. And the $100,000 R. Bruce Cornell Memorial was held at Freehold Raceway. An annual feature there. Brian's Breeze was going for 4 in a row. He broke a head pole, got into trouble, and here's how the Cornell turned out.
They're on their way home. Tucson Hanover. He's all alone, romping to a victory here. Dignitary in a second. Tucson Hanover wins it in 1:55 and 1.
The victory for Tucson Hanover. Michelle Lachance, the winningest driver in harness racing in the sulky. Dignitarian and quite a sensation, trailed him home, but as you can see, it was not close. When we return in the World in Harness, we'll meet a young lady with brains and beauty who has an unusual attribute in that she trains harness horses.
It's now post time. Time for all racing fans to enjoy their favorite sport with a flick of the wrist. This animated harness racing watch, the Trotter and Pacer, is available in both men's and ladies' styles. Thoroughbred fans will enjoy these animated watches. Quartz technology never needs winding. Only $99.95 each in your choice of genuine leather or metal expansion band. To order, call 1-800-325-TROT.
Everything it takes to be a good sire can be found in True Tone Lobel. A brilliant 2-year-old, he won his Wilson elimination in 1:55 and 3. True Tone Lobel won $805,000 at 2 and nearly won the $1.7 million Wilson final. He did win the $668,000 Shepherd Pace in stakes record 1:58 and 3, and he was ranked at the top of the experimental ratings at 1:52 and 1. True Tone Lobel stands at Madison Ridge Farm in New Jersey.
What happens when a gifted child who wins a scholarship to Johns Hopkins University and takes college level courses there while in high school meets up later on with a 12-year-old pacer? Well, we'll show you what happens as Howard Oil called the action of that meeting last week at Monticello Raceway in New York.
Track with the lead. Here's Overstrength down the center of the track now to take command, and it's Overstrength in front, draws away from the field. It's going to be Overstrength in front. Never leave Pete up for the place.
Overstrength is the winner, and that leads to another question. Question we probably get asked more than any other is, how do you get into harness racing? How do you become a trainer or a driver? And the answer that we give virtually all the time is, start as a groom, because there are not any other real shortcuts. But there are other ways to get into harness racing, and the young lady who is with me right now found one of them. Get yourself a degree in molecular biology, which is what Kathy Sissy Greisman did, and tell us a little bit about your background and how you got from there to here. Sissy, incidentally, is a trainer, full-time trainer at Monticello Raceway in New York.
Well, I worked with harness horses after high school as a groom.
Where was high school, first of all?
In Elkridge, Maryland,
That's
where I
horse
grew
country.
up. Yes, it is, and I grew up with horses, with riding horses. And I went to work for Richard Parcells after high school for about a year and a half, and I didn't really enjoy grooming that much. I mean, you pack feet and you do up legs and you do what you're told, basically. And then I decided to go to college.
You do learn a lot about horses, though.
Yes, you do, but you're doing what somebody else is telling you to do. And I got my degree in biology. I thought I wanted to go to veterinarian school, and I studied an awful lot, and I found out that when I went back to the horses and started training on my own, that the freedom is what I really love.
What did Mom and Dad say, who had just sent you through the University of Maryland?
Well, they're still glad that I got my education. They feel it's something no one can ever take away from you, and I may use it yet one day. I may go back to school, but I think that they have misgivings about me being at a racetrack on my own.
Do you have brothers and sisters?
Yes, there's four others.
Besides yourself?
Right, nobody else is into it, no.
Horse business. When you got into the horse business, you're now training. How many horses do you have?
Right now I have 4 that I'm training. 3 are racing.
Do you find that any of your background, obviously intelligence has never hurt anyone doing anything in any field, but does any of your background, chemistry, biology, anything benefit you at all with the horses in any way?
Well, I have fun talking with the vets.
Do they have fun listening to you, however?
Well, yeah, they tell me that it's things that they haven't thought about since they were in school, some of the mechanisms I ask them about. A lot of people just say inject, inject, and they don't understand why that the veterinarian's doing it. And I think that it's important for a harness trainer to understand why, and maybe it may be best in the short term, but in the long term it may be something that's going to harm the horse.
Aside from your educational background, which of course is highly unusual, how about the idea of women and horses? I've always had a theory, rightly or wrongly, that there is a certain rapport between young ladies and horses that has a special affinity, and that I think helps. I know it helps in my own mind in grooming. I don't know about training, but I would think it would hold there.
Well, I certainly feel them towards my horses. But I've seen men that are that way also. Probably more women, but I do see quite a few men that get along real well with the horses and treat them almost like friends rather than a business type. And I think the horses respond. My horses are racing very well for me, and I ride them also. I swim them in the pond up there. I do things with them other than just jogging them and training them all the time, because these animals get bored. They certainly get bored doing the same thing.
I was reading a book just the other day from 100 years ago in which the trainer was saying the identical thing. He was recommending that a change of scenery for a horse working out is one of the best possible things, and a century later you're saying the same.
I agree entirely. I think that a lot of people say, well, he's not racing well because he's sour, and of course a horse that stands in a stall 20 hours a day or 22 hours a day is going to be bored and unhappy, and how's he going to race well?
How do your horses respond to being ridden?
Very well. I have a 14-year-old that he's going to have to retire this year. He won 17 races last year. I ride him probably 2-3 times a week, and I swim him also, and I figure that way I'll be able to get a good home for him, and he'll be happier, and he wins a lot of races.
And what are the other 3 beside the 14-year-old?
Well, the other one is a 9-year-old that was a claiming pacer of the year last year, and I have a 12-year-old, so he's going to have to retire soon too.
Well, obviously you are dealing with horses that have had a little wear and tear,
yes.
And obviously somewhere along the road they've had a few aches and pains.
Right.
That gives you a full range of experience in taking care of all those ailments.
Right, but I like the older horses. I feel that they have the class. When they're out on the racetrack, they have an advantage because they've been doing it for so many years. And most of the old horses I've found really like people too.
Any chauvinism? Have you run into any prejudices on the racetrack?
None whatsoever. Or that I'm aware of. Probably there is some, but I think most people, it seems to me, wish me luck being on my own.
Any aspirations to drive?
Yes, I have my qualifying license. I've had 5 drives, and my 14-year-old, as a matter of fact, I'd like to qualify him free-legged as soon as I can. He just got a quarter crack, so it might be 2 weeks. Everybody says, why at 14 do you want to change him now? But I think it'll be better that way. So what? And
an educational background leading to pioneering in horses. You want to know how to get in? Get your degree in molecular biology like Sissy Greisman did. We wish you good luck with your 4 present horses and all the ones you have in the future.
Thank you.
And we'll be back to field your questions and the answers to them.
Go someplace special for a night of exciting harness racing. The Meadowlands, America's #1 harness track. The action is non-stop as top trotters and pacers race 11 times a night every Monday through Saturday night. Our gates open at 5:30 and first race goes off at 7:30. Come alive with harness racing at the Meadowlands. It's someplace special.
These foals may someday be champions. They have one distinct advantage over any other foals. They were bred in the greatest harness racing state in the sport, New Jersey. New Jersey breeds winners. This message brought to you by the Standardbred Breeders and Owners Association of New Jersey.
That pacer overstrength that you saw winning at Monticello before Kathy Greisman and I spoke is the 12-year-old that Sissy Greisman spoke about that she trained. She runs a veritable geriatric ward up there at Monticello, but the young lady will go far in this sport. Now it is time for questions and answers. We answer a question from a viewer, and the question chosen gets for the viewer a handsome sports watch, harness racing sports watch, courtesy of Sports Watches of Old Bridge, New Jersey. And this week's winner is John Wistuba of Cockeysville, Maryland, who wants to know, can you explain why a standardbred horse can race some 30 to 40 times a year, whereas it appears a thoroughbred horse races maybe 10, 12 times a year? Well, many thoroughbreds race more than 10 or 12 times, but the reason and the difference in the standardbred and the thoroughbred is that they're 2 different breeds and they are trained differently. Standardbreds are trained for stamina. They came from road horses 100 years ago, and in their training routine, it is not unusual for a horse to be trained 3 or even 4 separate miles. We mentioned that Grade Singing, winning in Helsinki last Sunday, raced in heats, and of course there used to be heat racing. Sometimes they'd go as many as 6 or 7 heat races in the last century. Heats in one afternoon. Grade Singing won in world record time, 1:57 and 1:56 and 1 2 miles just an hour apart at Helsinki last Sunday, and there's still heat racing in the major Grand Circuit stakes. So it is a matter of training. Stamina is, of course, one of the hallmarks of the standardbred. Thoroughbred trainers, I notice, in preparing for the Kentucky Derby, many of them did not want to start a week or 2 before the Derby. Some of them got into the Derby with a 3 or 4 week layoff. That's unheard of in harness racing for a major race. The ideal is to try to race even the best horses once a week when they are preparing for a big race, although sometime they'll get a layoff of a week, but that's about it. So that's the reason. That's a handicapping hint if you choose to call it that, but right now let's take a look at another handicapping hint from the United States Trotting Association.
The harness horse is a sturdy athlete and is easily capable of racing week in and week out. When making your selections, check to see if the horse you're considering has been to the post in the past 6 to 10 days. If not, it's usually a bad sign. Sometimes, though, a hard and fast rule about the number of days between starts can be bent a little. That's especially true of classier horses, such as those racing in stakes, where there may be a period of time between starts. But horses that race in the overnight events that fill every racetrack program must race often in order to keep their edge in form. If, because of injury or illness, a horse shows that he has been away from the races for a long period, say 3 weeks or more, a dull effort tonight is the most likely possibility. The first start back after a layoff, though, will make the horse tight again, and even a slightly dull performance will be a big help in getting him back to the top of his form. Most experienced handicappers demand a recent race from a horse on which they may bet. So if a horse has been away from the track, take away a point or two when you're making your selection.
Another handicapping hint. Pay attention to the drivers, and here are the leaders in North America as of right now. Bill O'Donnell closing in on $2 million, and so is John Campbell. Those two almost inseparable. And Michelle Lachance right behind him with $1.5 million. Penny Webster has $1.1 million, and Hervé Fillon closing in on $1 million again, as he does almost every year. Here are the race winners. Lachance, 209. Harry Buter, 164, and John Campbell catching up with Buter at 157. O'Donnell's just 4 behind Campbell. And Hervé Fillon also in the top 5 in races won with 149. When we return, we will have the Big Apple Pace at Yonkers.
This is the new Yonkers Raceway. Exciting as a photo finish and lighthearted as a night of fun with the gang. The new Yonkers Raceway. Beautifully remodeled, elegant, exciting, and relaxing as a leisurely dinner while watching the races or your favorite TV show. The new Yonkers Raceway, where you see every step of the action up close from anywhere, in climate-controlled comfort or in utmost luxury. The new Yonkers Raceway. It's everything you want a night to be.
You remember Manfred Hanover, of course, the great Gatorade guzzling trotter who was one of the best in the country and also bred a full book of mares as he was racing. Well, there is a horse out at the Meadows in western Pennsylvania named Photomaker trying to emulate him. He is a top-notch trotter. Here he is in action.
With Jenny's Crown fifth, less than an eighth of a mile to go. Photomaker trotting away, now by 6. Gunslinger Spurs second, the outside. Pee-wee, Pancake, and Jenny's Crown. It's Photomaker by 7.
That's his 6th win in 8 starts this year. He has also bred 3 mares and has 12 more booked to him. Driver Dale McConnell says that he has not used any Gatorade as yet. At Yonkers Raceway in New York, the Big Apple Pace for 3-year-olds. Good ones in action, 3 divisions, and here is how the first turned out.
Breeze has the lead. Q-Light the far outside second with Sunday Driver and Local Boy Hanover. Savage Breeze in front by 2.5. Q-Light coming on second. Savage Breeze in front.
Savage Breeze wins it for Michelle Lachance, beating Q-Light and Local Boy Hanover in 158 2/5. A colt that some people think is going to be one of the very tops in the country was in the 2nd division, and here is how he did in that one.
Team Hanover the outside second, Michael's Pride third. Through the stretch, Stage Door Stevie in front by 2 with Team Hanover second. Stage Door Stevie in front.
That was the fastest of the 3 Big Apple heats, 157, beating Team Hanover and Michael's Pride. Then in the 3rd, a horse that handled Stage Door Stevie in Florida was the winner. Here is that 3rd division of the Big Apple.
Had on the ring the outside second with Determined Chase third. Righteous Bucks in front by length. Had on the ring and Determined Chase. Righteous Bucks, Determined Chase. Righteous Bucks in front.
Close, as Jack Moiseyev drives Righteous Bucks to victory over Determined Chase and Hat in the Ring, 157 3. Verrill Bowman, incidentally, as usual, drove Stage Door Stevie. There was a great weekend of racing at the Meadowlands. On Friday night, the best pacing mares in America were in action, and I'm a Scooter, who you saw on the show from Brandywine a few weeks ago, upset them all, beating Queens Over and Follow My Star and Sweet Surrey and Sacrum in 157 4. Saturday night, Guts returned to action. He's a $1 million winner. He'd been off for more more than a year. He won Saturday night at 154 3/5. Monday night in the featured trot at the Meadowlands, the winner was Dix Bell. He beat Whippet Wood and Franconia in 157 1/5 as Davidia Hanover finished 6th. The big mile of the week at the Meadowlands, the best pacers in the country. Here is how that race turned out.
The stretch, it's Johnny A. Heritage in front. American Freedom is put to the whip, but Johnny A. Heritage is something left. He's opened up now by 3. American Freedom driving hard to stay with him. On the inside, Hothead is there. On the outside, Sometime Lobel is driving hard. They're all after Johnny A. Heritage, and here comes Hothead charging through in between horses. Governor's Choice, he's flying down the outside, and here's the wire, and it's a photo finish. Governor's Choice and Hothead hit the wire together.
I guess it's a photo finish. Governor's Choice wins it by a whisker in 153 2. Hothead, who was purchased earlier in the year from Chicago, finished 2nd, and Johnny A. Heritage 3rd. And when we return, we'll have the winner of the April trip to New York to meet the celebrities.
Royal Stallion Stake, harness racing's most comprehensive program for small breeders. Our multi-million-dollar program benefits horsemen from the stimulating of interest in stallions to increasing value of brood mares and foals, to the marketing of yearlings in sales rings, to stake racing for horses ages 2 through 5. Invest your money and your horses into the Royal Stallion Stake. For more information, contact Brian Maloney or Gordon Dickerson at 717-343-5902.
It's now post time. Time for all racing fans to enjoy their favorite sport with a flick of the wrist. This animated harness racing watch, the Trotter and Pacer, is available in both men's and ladies' styles. Thoroughbred fans will enjoy these animated watches. Quartz technology never needs winding. Only $99.95 each in your choice of genuine leather or metal expansion band. To order, call 1-800-325-TROT.
Each week, a question based on content on the show. Correct answers go in here. We draw one out. The winner gets a 6-month subscription to Harness Horse Magazine and the United States Trotting Association's booklet, Handicapping Beyond the Basics. Last week's question, who won the Plimpton Celebrity Challenge at Rosecroft in Maryland? The answer was sportscaster Joe Fowler of Washington. And the winner is Noreen Foley of Schenectady, New York. This week's question, grade singing set a world record in Europe. Where and how fast? If you want to send your answer in, send it to NARMA. You can send questions, too, at this address, 888 7th Avenue in New York, New York. And at the end of each month, we draw out a winner who gets a trip for 2 to New York to meet the celebrities, courtesy of Rulin Insurance Agency, Equine Insurance Agency in Monticello, New York, to meet the celebrities at the Yonkers Plimpton Challenge on June 19th. And this month's winner is Leah Hamlin of Uxbridge, Massachusetts. Congratulations. Next week on Score, we will be on Wednesday at 8:30, Thursday at 9. Roosevelt Raceway opens next week, and the Yonkers Sale, Old Glory Horse Sale on Saturday the 9th. I'm Stan Bergstein.
The World in Harness. Highlights of this week's harness racing action across North America. Brought to you by NORMA, the North American Harness Racing Marketing Association.